uplifting. Let it be something that pleases you and brings you all the glory. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so our Sunday school lesson for today, this is the verse I'd like to start with. Be sanctify the Lord God in your hearts. Be ready always to give an answer to any man that asks you the reason that hope is in you with meekness and fear. This is in 1 Peter 3:15. All right. Almost there. And creation is what I like to do, and that's where we're going to start with. But before we go there, she's not here today, but my helpmate said, you got to tell them that. So I'm going to tell you another story, kind of, that I was driving the church van again before I broke it, but I was driving that thing around and I heard something on the radio and I was like, man, I got to present that. So if any of you can think about this, Simon and Andrew and John and James, what was their profession? Fishermen, that's right. And Zebedee, their dad, fishermen, right? Fish. Do you think that James, John, Simon, Andrew, they knew their ship? They knew the water? Think so? Do they understand? Riding in a boat and they see the waves, they understand that. They get it. They know they've been fishing their whole life. They are professional fishermen. They understand everything that's going on in the water, right? All right. Turn to James chapter 4, or is it 8? James, I think it's 4. No, Mark was 4. All right, Luke, I'm sorry. Turn to Luke, chapter 8. Sorry about that. Wow. All right, this is probably something a lot of you heard before, but I'm just going to throw it out there. And by the way, if you ever talk about something in the Bible, don't say story or tell, I've done it. Try to get that out of your mind. This is a record. This is the account. This is the actual true history of the entire world, not everything that man gives you. And when we say story, that invites fictitious thought. Don't say story. Anyway, all right, Luke chapter 8. And go down to verse 22. All right. Luke 8:22, and this is what it says in the Bible. Now, it came to pass on a certain day that he went into a ship with his disciples. Who is he? Christ. He went into the ship with his disciples. And he, Christ, said unto them, let us go over unto the other side of the lake. And they launched forth. But as they sailed, he fell asleep. And there came a storm of wind on the lake, and they were filled with water. That word filled with water is actually the word filling. And if you can see with water, it's actually in italics. That means it wasn't in the original. So the water was filling, basically, is what that's saying. They were filling, and they were in jeopardy. All right. And they came to him and awoke him, saying, Master, Master, we perish. Then he arose, Jesus, and rebuked the wind and the raging of the water, and they ceased, and there was a calm. And he said unto them, where is your faith? And they, being afraid, wondered, saying one to another, what manner of man is this? For he commandeth even the winds and the water, and they obey him. Go over to Mark chapter 4. Just a little bit previous to that. We're going to go down to verse 35. This is basically the same account, but I just want to show it out there for you. So Mark chapter 4 and verse 35 says this, and the same day when the even was come, he saith unto them, let us pass over unto the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, and they took him even as he was in the ship. And there were also with him other little ships. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full filling. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they wake him and said unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are you so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? Whew. Hope God never says that to me. Anyhow, how is it you have no faith? So, Peter, James, John, all of them, they're fishermen. They understand the water, do they not? very, very well, better than most people on the planet. Christ, in these little account, you see both the humanity and the deity of Christ right here, just in this little account. Same one in Luke. What I'm saying is, Peter, James, and John, they were fishermen. They understood. And then they come to Christ, who was asleep, and they woke him. Master, carest not that we perish. Now, these men knew the water. They understood the waves. They understood storms. They knew it. They had been fishing their whole life. So it had to be really bad in order for them to go, Master, we're going to perish. How would these men who've been fishermen their whole life say, we're going to die in this storm, unless they knew? You know what I mean? They knew what was going to happen. They had to. They've been fishing their whole life. And they're like, we're going to die. So they go and wake Jesus. They have to go and wake him up, the God of the universe. Why do they have to go and wake him up? Huh? He's tired. Humanity. There it is. 100% man. He is exhausted. He goes into the boat, which is some fishing boat. And he passes out in the back because the previous 2 chapters he's been talking to all people, giving all kinds of parables and stuff. He's wrecked. He's so exhausted. And he goes in the back of the boat and just passes out asleep. And the men that are with him, he was trusting those men fully. He was like, y'all got this, man. You've been fishing your whole life. You understand what's going on. So Christ said, I'm going back to go to sleep. That's exactly what they did. And then they were like, we're going to die. And they go and wake him up. And then Christ comes out and he's like, all right, what's he say? Peace. Be still. Some of you probably got children. Have you ever told them to do something and they do it immediately? The first time that you've ever said it to them. Did they do it immediately? No, they don't. You have to tell them 15 friggin' times and punt them in the head. Listen to me. They don't listen. How long do you think when Jesus said, peace be still, did it take for the wind and the sea to obey Christ? Immediately. As soon as Christ said, peace be still, boom. All of it was still. Now, if you can imagine those disciples in the boat, they're watching the waves come up over. The water is filling the boat. They're freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, we're going to die. The disciples have been fishing their whole life. And then Christ says, peace be still. And they're like, what kind of man is this? That's what they said. What kind of man is this? All he said was, peace be still. And the wind and the sea obeyed him immediately. They obeyed him. As soon as he said it, boom, there was what it was. His deity can be seen right there. Christ says, peace be still. He's humanity when he was exhausted. Humanity, deity, right there in perfect harmony all the way. 100% man, 100% God. If you have trouble adding up 100% and 100% and come out 200%, then go ask God and he'll explain it to you, because I don't know. But anyway, I know that Christ is 100% God and 100% man. And this is one of those accounts that helps us to realize that he was fully God and he's fully man, all right? So I just wanted to throw that one out there. And there, if she's watching, that was for you. All right, creation. We kind of started this last time and we're going to continue. So, what kind of creature is that? Anybody? Mountain lion. Cougar. Puma. I heard that. Puma, cougar, mountain lion. What's the difference? I don't know yet. Well, we'll get into it here in a second. Map of the world. Now this, I'd normally never say anything like this, but this map took about 2 hours to build this one slide, so we're going to do it again. Anyhow, all right, so from Alaska all the way down, you can kind of see where the mountain lion terminology started, kind of over in that way, and then it spreads across the U.S., and then over here in the eastern U.S., you see cougar, which is, what we normally say. Cougar spread across back to the east, so mountain lion and cougar were continuous in there. Another one is puma, which I heard earlier, kind of in the northeast, and then it moves down and over. And then there's another one down over there in Canada. It's called the catamount, which is the cat of the mountain, basically what that is. And you can see the catamount stretches across Canada and also down to the north to the bottom U.S. And then down there in Florida, they have something called the Florida panther. That is exactly what this creature is, so they call him a panther. But that panther line went all the way across the United States. So you can see in the U.S. there's all kinds of names for that. Yeah, I forgot again. Swamp screamer is another name for that creature. Actually, this creature has the Guinness Book of World Records for the most common names. You know that? It's got 80 names. 40 names are in English. Whew. Anyway, swamp screamer, there's another name. And this is in New Orleans when it started. We're going to get into swamp screamer here in a minute. So anyway, cougar, you got all them different names up there. And it's like, well, which one is it? So I was in wildlife and fishery science. That's what my college degree is in. I always learned animals. I liked animals. Felis concolor is what I learned as the mountain lion. Mountain lion, cougar, puma, panther. Yeah, everybody can call it all kinds of different things, but if you say Felis concolor, you know exactly which one that is. There's no question. So what I did was go on the internet, look up, well, I know it's the Felis concolor because I know it because I took wildlife and I'm well aware of it. Felis concolor is the mountain lion. Felis domesticus is the house cat. I know that stuff. I can't get it out of my head. Anyhow, I looked up Felis concolor on the internet and it didn't show up anything. I was like, what's the deal, man? Kept on looking at, and I was afraid to type in cougar on the internet because it'll probably pull up some stuff that I don't really want to see. And then puma, also, I didn't want to look at shoes. So mountain lion kind of came into view, mountain lion. So when I scrolled down at the very bottom of it, it said, mountain lion used to be called Felis concolor. We don't call it Felis concolor. That word is obsolete. So, as I learned mountain lion is Felis concolor, he's no longer Felis concolor, thanks. So what he is now is puma concolor. That's his name, puma concolor. Guess how many species are in the genus Puma? 1. Puma concolor. Anyway, that's what they did. So I finally found it on Wikipedia, though. So I went to Wikipedia, the bastion of all knowledge. If you're ever wondering, go to Wikipedia. It knows everything. Anyway, I pulled up Wikipedia under mountain lion, and it brought me to the cougar. It said cougar's the one. So I pulled up Wikipedia cougar, and this thing I'm going to show to you is the very, very first sentence on Wikipedia, the very first website. I was like, oh, cool. And this is what it says. I did not change this at all. All I did was copy paste, make the font a little bigger. The cougar, also called a puma, mountain lion, catamount, panther, is a large small cat native to the Americas. Does anything about that first sentence seem a little bit confusing or misleading? Anything? A large small cat. What? It's a large small cat. What does that mean? This is the first friggin' sentence in Wikipedia. Anyway, bastion of all knowledge. Go to Wikipedia and they'll tell you about large small cats. Anyway, all right. Go. Moving down from that one and to the next one. Okay. Oh, I know why I did that. I kept it up there as Felis because I wanted you, or not because I wanted you to hear this one thing. Has anybody ever been in an area where you heard the swamp screamer actually scream? Has anyone ever heard that? You heard it? You heard it too? Anybody else? Okay, well, me and 2 other dudes were sitting there. It's midnight, it's past midnight, it's late, and we're sitting there. Anyway, I'm gonna give you the video, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, it's not very long. I just wanted you guys to hear what it sounds like. Yep. I sure do hate this machine. Sorry. It should be much easier than this. Okay, I can't get that thing to work. Why is it not working? It's right there. Why don't you work? All right, well, I can't get that thing to work now. And now I won't go back to the stupid thing. Sorry, I'm trying. Just work. All right, well, anyway, it sounds really bad. I had the video. Kind of sounds like a baby. I mean, when I was there, it was, like I said, us three dudes. It was me and two other guys, and we were seniors in high school, 18 years old, 17 years old. We all three played football, so it's not like we're little dudes. It's me, a linebacker, another linebacker, running back, so we're fairly big dudes. And then when you hear that thing go off in the middle of the night, it was they earned the name Swamp Screamer. I will tell you, it sounds a little bit, what I heard, it sounded like a woman in travail, being brutalized. It was just, overwhelming. Anyway, I wanted to show you the stupid video, but it didn't work. All right, anyhow, all right, so let's press on. Puma concolor, what do they call it now? That's what it is, the Puma concolor. All right, so this is a large animal, not a large, small animal. It's a large animal. It is about 8 feet long, 7 to 9 feet, about 8 feet long from the tip of its nose to the tip of its tail. It's about 8 feet. All right, it's about 3 foot tall at the shoulder, so they measure it when it's standing up on all fours, so it's about 3 foot tall. And it weighs about 210 pounds, you know. Maximum they've got to one that was about 350, but, you know, the minimum is 75 or so, so they're varied in that area. Actually, the mountain lion is the second largest cat in all of the Americas, North and South America and Central America too. What's the largest cat? Jaguar, very good. It is the jaguar in America. However, the mountain lion is also the 4th largest cat overall. Wouldn't you want to be the 4th best at anything in the world? If he's the 4th, what are the 3 that are above him? Lion, tiger, jaguar. That's not very hard, but yeah, that's what it is. So the mountain lion is the 4th largest overall. And he lives right next door. Anyway, Puma concolor, there's the mountain lion again, and he, considering some of his behavior, he adapts to his environment. So the environment of the mountain lion is very different from every other cat out there, okay? Mountain lions can survive in basically any environment. So it's like forests, jungles, plains, mountains, snow. And especially what mountain lions will tend to do is they adapt to suburbia, okay? They do that pretty often. Anyhow, so we'll get into that a little bit later. They adapt to the environment. Reproduction on a mountain lion is a little bit different from most other animals on the planet in that, well, I'll give you this picture. So there you go. It's the reproduction of a mountain lion. That is a mountain lion cub. Reproduction for mountain lions is actually year-long. Kind of different from other creatures where an animal goes in heat at a certain time of year. Not for mountain lions, it's all year long. And they have those cubs that you see, the coloration of those cubs. There's something a little bit different about that cub than normal mountain lions. What do you think it is? Spots. So he has spots on him. Why would he have spots? He hides them. That's exactly why. For coloration, for his camouflage is exactly why he has that. At about 10 months old is when he loses all his spots and he becomes the Puma concolor. Concolor means with color or with single or the same color. Basically what concolor means. All right, Puma means cat-like with the same color. Puma concolor. All right, the range of the mountain lion, where does he go? And this map is not fully complete, but it's the one I threw out there. So if you can see that range, the yellow is where there's more, and the red is where there's less, but they're still there. So that range actually extends all the way up through Canada, all of Canada, into Alaska, pretty much all of the southern Alaska, and then all the way down through South America, almost to Patagonia. So, I mean, the range of this thing is huge. He goes everywhere, and he's got everything. Territory also is another big thing to mountain lions. Of all the cats on the planet, the mountain lion actually has the largest territory. If you can imagine that. So most of their territories are around 100 to 150 square miles. So 10 miles, 15 miles makes 150 square miles. You can imagine that. It's a pretty big territory. Actually, the biggest territory they found was one had 500 square miles of one territory. So they'd mark it with P or whatever, and that's how they mapped it out. All right, territory and their locomotion. Let's talk about the locomotion of these critters. There's the cat. Obviously, when you look at that locomotion, what is the one thing you think of? He can climb trees. Look at that. He climbs trees, and he likes to climb trees. He enjoys it. Actually, it's part of his hunting process, is climbing trees. I'll go into that in a minute. Not only that, they can swim. Another big cat that can swim. Now, he's a little bit different from a jaguar in that he doesn't like to swim, but he will swim. So especially for like prey or something like that, he goes after it. So they can swim. Another thing they do is they can run. Guess how fast? 50 miles an hour. You cannot outrun a cat, no matter what. All right, so we're in the wildlife thing. I'll go ahead and give you some wildlife things to know. If you're ever confronted with a bear in the woods, if it's a brown bear, play dead. If it's a black bear, fight back. If it's a cat, you come up with a cat in the woods, 100% sure he has already seen you. So he knows where you are. You might walk up onto him and hopefully you see him from like 20 yards away. And then when you see him, you lock eyes with him, okay? Lock eyes with that cat. When you see him, just start talking. Talk like a normal human, but a little bit louder. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit louder. You don't scream. Don't yell at him. But keep him always in your field of view and then back away slowly. Do not turn and run. Don't do that, because that will entice him to come and chase you. And you're not going to outrun a 50-mile-an-hour cat. Okay? You just won't. Anyway, you see one, back away slowly. All right. And another thing about this is that he can leap. Wow. You can see a little bit of the muscle right there on the back legs. They can leap. Man. When we're talking about the leaps of this creature, man, he can jump crazy far. How far can he jump? Well, they measure this from this creature sitting down from a standstill, okay? Not moving at all. And then with his legs that you saw right there, he can jump straight up 15 feet. That's basically touching past the roof is what he's doing. So he's sitting here, just sitting. Jumps all the way up there and can touch the roof like nothing. He's 8 foot long, so if you could, two of him, it's barely as high as he can jump. But that would be up. So what else do they want to do? They want to jump straight out. So if he's sitting at a standstill, he can jump 30 feet from a standstill. So it'd be like me standing right here, jumping out of the front door of the church. That's how far that thing can jump from a standstill. Don't want to mess with him. That's what they can do. So the coloration of the concolor, that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. Now imagine this, if you were, 50 feet away or something like that, and you looked at those rocks, and right there's that cat. You think you could really see him? Not that much. It'd be kind of weird. One of the things that coloration also do is it's concolor, so he has one color. That's what concolor means, of one color. So when everything is trying to look at him, he's that one color, so he goes and hides behind something or right next to something. It basically looks like him. That's what he does all day long. And that coloration actually aids him in a great many things. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. All right. So I don't know if anybody's heard this or not, but sometimes you'll get people that will talk about, man, I was just sitting there in my house, and all of a sudden I saw a big long tail just whip on out of here. I don't know what that was. It's crazy. Just saw a big tail. And then you'll hear another tale about, man, I saw a lion. I thought it was a lion. It was sitting right there on my front porch. And then it ran away. So people got their Ring doorbells, and it has a camera. They've actually videotaped one. Mountain lion, they comes in to this guy's property and sits down in the corner. Just sits there. It's like 4 or 5 hours. The husband and wife come home, and the cat's still sitting there. And they walk right by him, don't even see it. Don't even notice that he's sitting there. And they just go in, do their thing, and then he just walks off. Like, no big deal. What are you going to do? That's the suburbia mentality to where they've adapted to it completely. And that's one of the things. So he's earned the nickname also called the ghost cat. So it's just all of a sudden he appears. You can also hear stories about people. They'll be like, all of a sudden there's a cat over there in their driveway or whatever. There's like, where did that freaking huge cat come from? It scares people to death, and I don't blame it, because it's a pretty big cat. When you see it out there, you're like, whoa. Anyhow, all right, stalk and ambush hunter. So the puma, or mountain lion, whatever, he's a stalk and ambush hunter. The way that works is you saw him climbing up the tree there a minute ago. So he would climb up in a tree. Normally, like they'll have a game trail or something underneath them, usually like deer, and they see the game trail. So they'll be up in the tree with the game trail right below them, and they'll just kind of watch it hang out. And then some animal will follow the game trail, and if it's usually a deer, it'll just wait until it gets into range. Then it jumps out of the tree onto that thing and ambushes it because it can't get away. It's stalked it all the way there. It's found out its hole where it likes to go, and then jumps out of the tree onto that thing. When it jumps out of the tree, it's got these big old claws, smacks on it, jumps on his back, but then his front, he wraps around and bites the throat of that thing. So when he bites the throat, it cuts off their wind so they can't breathe, and then eventually they choke to death just from that thing biting them. So jumping out of the tree, 300-pound cat, 8 foot long, I don't know. If anybody can withstand that, much less a deer. All right, so the mountain lion again. One thing that we haven't talked about yet is its diet. So what does it eat? Well, kinda. This animal is a carnivore, meaning it eats meat. Pretty much, that's all it eats. All right, some of the things that it does eat. Deer, that's a big one, eats a lot of deer. Coyotes, beavers, marmot, which is like a weasel. Hares, rabbits, birds, small birds, big birds. Grasshoppers, little grasshoppers. Look at the very end one. I personally do not like raccoons, so I'm a big fan of the mountain lion. He eats raccoons. I'm like, all right, man, you eat all you want. Them raccoons. All right, one other thing. So like I said, the deer trails, so as he's sitting in the tree, he would jump out on the deer trails, usually the trail. The coyotes are a little bit different because they usually run in packs, but what they'll do is they'll wait for one at night to get kind of by itself, and then they'll attack it. And they usually do that when the coyote is almost like a revenge kill, almost, but it can't be that, but still, it kind of seems like a revenge kill. Anyway, all right, so the mountain lion, all those things that he eats, that's not all right? So one other thing is they've got kind of a reputation of being an evil creature, kind of a bad thing, and this is the reason why. Like Miss Jessica was saying, they eat livestock, and they have been doing that for 300-400 years that we have actually recorded. So back in the 1700s, I guess that was 300 years ago, but it doesn't matter. 1700s or so is when farming was really big in the U.S. So people would have their farms. Mountain lion would come in, and he eats sheep, goats, cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys. He eats them, man. Anything that's in there, he'll eat it. He doesn't care. But because of that, people were so agriculturally inclined in the days before cars and all this stuff that we have now. When they were tearing out their livestock, man, people were losing like money. They were just getting thrown out of their house because the mountain lion would eat them. The way the mountain lions will usually eat too, just to throw this one out there. So a deer is a pretty good example. So it kills a deer, jumps out of the tree and kills one. And what it'll do after it kills it is it drags it off and where it's going to eat it, drags it away. It may drag it up into the tree, usually, but it also drags them on the ground. And if it drags it on the ground, he'll bring that deer wherever he's going to bring it to, and then he'll eat them. But he doesn't eat the whole thing. He just eats a little section of it. Then what's left of the deer, he covers it up in like branches and leaves and stuff. Weird, huh? But then the next day, he'll kill something smaller, like a hare or a bird or something smaller, and eat that. And then he'll go back to the deer that he killed. So it's about every 2 weeks that they kill something big and put it out in there to eat it. And then in the meantime, they're eating the smaller stuff. So that's basically how their stalking works. And that's, so the livestock though, that's where they get their reputation of being a bad creature, I guess. It's from them eating livestock, but that's not all they eat. And another thing they eat, pets. If you got a dog or a cat, mountain lion will eat it. He'll eat it. You can't do much about it, just watch it happen. Hopefully you don't have to watch it. But anyway, they eat pets, they eat dogs, they eat cats. People will be like, dogs, man, they don't eat dogs. Dogs are about half the size of that animal. He'll eat it no problem. He just wastes it. Anyhow, all right, so the puma concolor, again, you got to see those big old legs, big, strong muscles up there. His diet, continuing on. The question would normally arise, do they eat people? Yeah, you think they attack people? Anybody else? Do they eat people? Well, maybe this. In 2018 was the last recorded incident of a mountain lion killing a person. Killing him. Not eating, killing. There have been 130 mountain lion attacks. Very good. And all of those attacks, 28 of those were fatal. That time period is over the last 100 years. So, in over 100 years, cats, the mountain lion, has attacked 130 times in 100 years. And they've killed 28 people in 100 years. But they've eaten 0. Do they normally attack people? 100 years, 130 attacks. Do you think that sounds like a normal attack? That's exactly what it was. It's only because a person did that they're attacking them at all. They're just defending themselves. That's all it is. 130 attacks in 100 years? They never attack people. And that's usually because of what it says in the Bible. I'll put dominion over you. You'll have dominion over the fish, the sea, fowl, the air, everything that creeps on the earth. And they see you walking with 2 legs, and that's what the Bible says. You walk up with 2 legs, they're afraid of you. And that's basically what mountain lions are too. They don't want to mess with people. But if a person encroaches on their territory or tries to take away their food or something like that, they will attack. And that's what they are. All right. So you see all that stuff there? Basically, after all that, what I'm trying to tell you is a mountain lion is an apex predator also. We've been doing lots of apex predators, haven't we? What does it mean to be an apex predator? Nothing hunts it. All right, we're going to go with that. Nothing hunts it. That's exactly right for the mountain lion. Nothing hunts the mountain lion. All right, I didn't give you a bunch of them, but a few of the systems that I did give you, you think they're necessary all at the same time, like jumping out of the tree. So he had to have all the equipment necessary to jump out, to actually know how high the tree is, to know he could land safely, to know he could land on the back of a creature, and then use his giant claws to grab him, use his giant teeth, big, strong jaws to clamp down on that throat. Are all those systems necessary together? Yes, you have to have them all at the same time. Meaning, could they have developed over time? Absolutely not. Because if you didn't have claws, if you were developing claws over time, you couldn't catch and kill anything if you jump out of a tree. It's just craziness. They can't develop over time. So, what alternative does that leave? Creation. That's exactly what that is. The only alternative is it was specifically designed by God for his creation. That is exactly what the mountain lion is. In its little territory, it loves exactly what it is, and we should also be thinking about God's creation in a way that it's like, look what God has made. Even though it might be what we consider to be the 4th biggest, it came from Noah's Ark, which means there was most likely only 2 cat-like creatures, probably like a smilodon or a saber-toothed tiger, you know. Probably something on that line. It could have been 4, those 2 that had the saber teeth and 2 more that didn't have the saber teeth, but I don't know. But anyway, all of these animals are related because they came off of Noah's Ark, but they're still different other different ways. I've given you a whole bunch of apex predators, kind of what I was getting at on that whole note. Apex predators, nothing hunts them. That's correct. Does anybody know why something would be called an apex predator. Why is it that we deem that certain thing an apex predator? What's the one thing that says that creature is the apex? Any idea? What?
When you trace a food chain up and making a big old angle, so you're going to find those guys up at the apex.
That's true. You would find them at the top. Nothing really chases them. Apex predators, though, it's based on geography. That's all it is. It's geography, where they are in the world. So, Kodiak bears, for example, are an apex predator. They live on Kodiak Island. They don't live on the greater Alaska area. Mountain lions are apex predators. They don't mess with jaguars, but jaguars are also apex predators, but they're separated by geography. They're both American cats, but geography separates them. So a jaguar is an apex predator, so is a mountain lion. Get it? So it's geography that separates them. Land, sea, air, that also separates them. Killer whales, sharks, apex predators, nothing hunts them, but they're separated by their geography, where they are in the world. And we'll do some birds next time. Anyway, all right, so that's close enough. We're going to close out, and then we'll do our next little part Sunday. Well, no, we got the surf coming up. Anyway, thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for listening to all this. And we're going to go in our next part, so take a little time and relax, and then we'll do